Welcome to What's Growin. I'm your host, Booker T. Lee. My co-host is Mary Helen. How you doing today?
I'm great, Booker. Glad to be here.
You made it through the February.
Yes. Yes. I've got my sights set on spring.
I mean, too, and that ice kind of set us back for a while.
Yes.
We just hope the plants don't be too damaged. But we got a very special guest today.
Right.
We got Jason Reeves coming down from the West Tennessee Experiment Station.
I'm so excited to talk to him. I love going when he lectures around town. Sometimes he'll be at the Hort Society or the Herb Society. I always make a point to go hear what he has to say. He's always got really timely advice. So yeah.
He always had, and I don't know how he do it, but that place looks so nice up there. Like one time he had wine bottles. Sometimes have pockets, everything that be out there.
So if our viewers don't know, it's in Jackson, Tennessee. UT has their what is it called? The
summer celebration.
Right.
And
they do that every 2 years and just inspire.
Years.
But the rest of the time, they do educational programs and have display gardens out there, right? So that you can go and see.
Anytime. Mm-hmm. You don't have a tour to do. They have a mailbox out there that you can go through the mailbox and pick up stuff and everything. So it's really great.
It's such a good resource for West Tennessee.
Great resource for West Tennessee. And he do a great job to do that. Let's go meet him then and talk to him. Welcome back to What's Growin On. We've got a very special guest today, Jason Reeves. How you doing today, Jason?
I'm good. It's great to be here.
Oh, God, I always get to see you, Jason. You always do a great job and everything. You're in Jackson, Tennessee at the West Experiment Station. What do you do up there?
I am. So I'm the garden manager at the UT Gardens in Jackson. The university has 3 gardens, one located in Knoxville, one in Crossville, and one in Jackson. And we are collectively known as the State Botanic Garden of Tennessee and open daylight to dark year-round for you to come and visit and free for all.
Make it cover. I know I do have a mailbox up there. Nobody there. You always have things labeled. They did on tour.
That's right.
Like that. That is great there and there's stuff in there. So we got some very questions for you today, Jason. I know you do a great job. And I got Mary Helen here. She got some things that she's going to ask you there.
First of all, I have to tell you, Jason, you're one of the people who first inspired me to get interested in herb gardening.
Oh,
I
wow.
went to a summer celebration years ago, and y'all had a whole basil theme.
Oh,
and
yes.
you had, was it like
55
types of basil? And I was
crazy.
like, what? This is so cool. And so I was kind of new to gardening, so I started and hadn't stopped.
Well, that was a fun year. We actually repeated that a few years ago. And it's
I
really
just think your creativity, and you've inspired so many people that come up to that event alone and just see the way you do like the ornamental things and with your plant, just creative ways you do the planting. So it really is that center serves to inspire the whole region. So thank you for all you do.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
He do a good job because when they see all them decorations you have in there, really do look good. Then, we got some very special questions for you today now because I know we just came out of cold spell back here in February. And I just want to ask you some things. Now, how is it going to affect our plants to begin to come out again in the springtime?
So, depending on where you live and what zone you're in, I know Memphis area is mostly zone 8. I'm in more zone 7. We actually did not get down to that low temperature of that zone. So if you planted plants in your hardiness zone, you should be perfectly fine. Okay. Now, there's going to be some things that had damage from ice, the collection of ice, breaking things down. And if you haven't trimmed those back properly, you need to go back and cut those, those wounds properly. And you probably will have lost flower buds on some things like hydrangeas, particularly macrophyllus, or like Edgeworthia. But overall, the plants are going to be fine. And you need to be patient. In March, things are waking up and it's kind of time to you'll be able to tell the damage, but don't get overly anxious to cut things back. Scratch the bark and see if it's green before you cut on it, and give things a chance to recover on their own.
So you're saying go back immediately, like after the snow clears, go and like cut off any broken?
Yeah, but you don't have to be. I mean, obviously something's dangling, you need to get it off of there, but you don't have to be in a huge rush about cleaning up that cut.
Mess up what it has.
No. But now that we're into March, now's the time to look for that and go back and clean those broken branches off and those cuts up, and that'll help. And then, if you've still got plants that are leaning from the weight of the ice, you may need to stake those. If you've got things that have splayed, if it's a multi-liter plant like an arborvitae or like a DeGroot spire arborvitae or Durant boxwood or Grand Brandy boxwood, you may need to kind of tie those together if they're really splayed. And you may also have to do some pruning to cut off some of those branches. But for the most part, things are going to be fine.
Yeah, you're so right about waiting, though, because when we had that one a couple of years ago, I gave my camellias like plenty of time, I felt, and they were those things are dead. So I cut them off at the ground, but I didn't get the root ball out. And they started coming back. I was so mad at myself.
Yes. Yeah, that Arctic blast of December 22 is a totally different situation than we've had now. I mean, we were in the 50s and 60s, and then we dropped, extremely fast, and things hadn't hardened off. That's not the case now. Really, what we've had now, it should be this cold. Now, we don't need the ice. But again, that ice and snow actually
Insulated.
the ground. So we're in good shape.
What about the plants that don't like wet feet? There's snow on there for it won't there for a long time. Well, they feel like your azalea plant. They don't like to be wet feet, so the snow just stayed on.
We were actually in a drought, and
Okay.
the snow and ice slowly melting is actually good for the soil. It soaks in much better. There's nitrogen in that. There's lots of the things that come out of the snow that's good for our plants. So unless we're getting lots of rain, you should be fine. I mean, I'm thrilled that we got this precipitation because we really, really needed it. So you shouldn't be concerned about that unless you've got poor draining soil and you're getting extra rainfall.
Especially for the big tall trees and everything that we have in there. They've been in a drought for a long time, and this slow melting snow in there is going to help the root system a lot.
Oh,
They're
absolutely.
going to get way down into the ground for a while, so they probably going to do pretty good this year.
Yes. It'll really help because it's not going to run off. It's going to penetrate the soil, and they're going to absorb it. So that's good.
What about the blooms, though? I know we did have some warm weather before this, and I was seeing things blooming that I didn't.
Yeah, here in the Memphis area, I'm sure you probably had some
bloomed
forsythia beginning to bloom, and probably some cherries and some early flowering things, maybe some of the camellias. And yeah, I'm sure if those buds were open, even the least little bit, they probably got zapped. But the buds that weren't open should continue and develop on. So you're going to lose some, and that's
Right.
part of living in the transition zone where we are. That's just kind of, and we all play the game of trying to grow things that are a little bit on the border, and so some of those things could have some issues with. I know distilium. We've been planting lots more distilium, and it can definitely suffer from winter burn. Some of the gardenias. Some of the camellias, maybe even some of the Indian hawthorn. Those are kind of marginal plants. So you could have some damage on that, but it's because we're kind of pushing the limits in our area.
Gotcha.
And on these plants that come in there to begin to bud out and everything, is that kind of good for the plant? Sometimes maybe can like prune them out some, for they might have too many things on there, especially like our fruit trees that we might have coming out.
Oh, absolutely. Thinning things out that need to be in particularly fruit. Not that I know a lot about fruit, but definitely, February and March is the time to be pruning. And, you can always check in with your local county extension agent for the details on how to do that pruning process. But yeah, March is really a great time to do pruning that needs to be done. Because we're really beyond winter, and those wounds won't be open so long, and so they'll be able to heal over. So it's a great time to be doing pruning. Is March, yes.
And another thing, now we tell homeowners about the tree that all these broken limbs that they see on there, and they start doing out there. I don't like to get off the ground and prune nothing. I like to call the professional.
That's right. You got to think about your safety first, and if it's a limb way up there that you're going to have to get up on a ladder, and your spouse is going to be holding the ladder, and you're using a pole saw, you really should call a professional and
do that.
Keep your safety in mind.
I'm excited though. I got an extension pole saw for Christmas,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it goes so long. I mean, you can really get pretty.
And they have battery operated ones now. The
What?
battery tools are wonderful.
Well,
That's
Santa
on the
didn't
market
bring me
now.
that
So,
one.
yeah, they cost a little bit more than this.
Another
but-
gift coming in
I'm
later
excited
on.
though because now I can really get up there. Just some of those little dangling things that are
Yes,
small.
absolutely.
That's good then, Mary Elliott. So there's stuff in there. Now, you some think about some the ornamental grasses.
Yeah, so we haven't really talked much about ornamental grasses on this show before, and for years I would try to buy them at Lichterman Nature Center's plant sale to, put along my creek where it's kind of help with erosion, and that's really all I focused on. But then a couple of years ago, we really started seeing more. We started having them at the Botanic Garden plant sale. I started seeing them in the nurseries. And like this past year, even the box stores had a nice selection of ornamental grasses. So I think it's something that people are starting more and more to use in the landscape. But do you use them up there?
Absolutely. Ornamental grasses is such a tough plant. And, there are native selections that are becoming more readily available. Lichterman is a great place to go buy, native plants. The panicums are native, the muhly grasses, the blue stems are all great native plants, and those are all really, really drought tolerant, and they actually, all of those prefer to be on the lean side. They don't need well-amended, highly fertilized soil. They don't need irrigation once you get them established. They really do well in just our average garden soil and average conditions. Panicum's a great example of, in the last 10, 15 years, they have developed cultivars that are more upright, that are less floppy. But if you plant those in heavily amended soil and you've got irrigation, they're going to flop anyway. So give them what they want, which
and you
is
want them
very
to
little.
you want them to be straight, because some of them even now it's almost look like they're layered, because the coloration of them, and then you get the really nice seed at the top.
Yeah, in late summer, those seed heads and the kind of different colors as they go down. So, but yeah, there's a lot of great of our native forms, but also like fountain grass. There are different kinds of fountain grass that are good as well. And then miscanthus, which has been around forever. That's probably the one people know the most. But there are a lot of cultivars on the market now that are sterile, so they don't seed around, because that can be a problem with miscanthus.
Describe the miscanthus then.
So miscanthus is more, some people call it pampas grass, which is not. That's more the huge plumes, and that's kind of zone 8. There are some zone 7 pampas, but
and those get really, really big too. I don't know if people realize how huge.
So pampas grass is going to have a wider blade. Miscanthus is going to be a little more narrow. There's probably easily 15, 20 cultivars that you could find if you went to various garden centers, but there are a lot more of that. But cultivars on the market. But miscanthus has been around a long time, and Morning Light is one of my favorites. It's been around for many years. That is not truly sterile, but it really has very few sterile seed. But high frequency, bandwidth, Scout are some new sterile forms of miscanthus.
So the ones that aren't sterile, do people have a problem with them then?
Seeding around the garden. If you're, particularly in the Carolinas, it's awful. It's banned in some states.
Really?
It really can be an issue. So I would look for those new sterile cultivars to add those to the landscape.
I had one in my landscape there. It got so big, there was some kind of fountain grass. I think I had it too close to the house or something, and I didn't open it like that. Do all of them get real big, or something that get real small that I can put close to the house?
Yeah, so depending on the genus, what grass you have, and the cultivar will kind of, depends on the size. The fountain grasses tend to be smaller than the miscanthus does. And then there's even dwarf forms of that, like Piglet and Hamlet are more compact forms.
That's the kind I need in the dwarf can.
Yes. I mean, some of the miscanthus can get 6-8 feet tall, but then there's some that's more 4 to 5 feet tall. So choosing the right plant for the right location is very important, no matter what the plant is.
As with everything else.
Absolutely.
Well, but reasons to use these in the landscape, I mean, they just give you like a vertical, which is nice, and kind of really, you can use it as like an artist would to give you, straight lines.
Absolutely. And I know with the botanic garden, I think it's in the children's garden, y'all got a mass planting of one of the blue stems. I can't remember which cultivar it is, and it is beautiful. Sometimes, again, very drought tolerant, really tough, and so sometimes, like with the blue stem, don't plant just 1 or 2, plant a 6 or
like
7 or 8 or a little swath.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. And again, they're tough. That you get movement in the garden.
Yeah.
And you brought some samples with us.
Yeah, I even I kept mine so to give it fall and winter interest. Going through.
So that's miscanthus. Is a good example of miscanthus, and you get those flower heads late in the summer, and they're great for winter interest. Get some ice and snow, and they're beautiful. I love seeing the birds land on them, and also you can cut it and use it as an arrangement, even in the wintertime.
That look really nice.
Brown is a color. Tan is a color. People, don't with your grasses, leave them until late winter, early spring, and enjoy the beauty they give you in the garden in the wintertime.
I wonder if they support wildlife too. I mean, like the whole thing, leave the leaves on your other perennials and things. Is that true?
Absolutely. And the birds will collect some of the smaller leaves off of them. And ground nesting birds use, particularly like the panicum and the blue stem. So yes, and then there's seed on there that the birds eat as well. So very much so is a benefit to wildlife.
Now, how do you cut them back? I see Mary Helen got some pruning here.
Yeah, this is how I do mine.
Yeah, so depending on what you have available, how many grasses you have, there are various different ways to cut them back. And most of them are best cut back in late February and into March. Depending on what species, if you waited too late in the spring, it might begin to put up new growth. But for the most part, late February and through March is a good time to cut them back. Or sometimes when they start breaking apart and blowing around in the garden. And so you can use head shears like you've got there. You can use hand pruners.
I went to a talk one time where you said that your mom used electric,
battery powered. Battery powered head shears. Those are fantastic. So we gave her a pair of these for Christmas one year, and then I started using them. So next year I bought myself a pair. They're fantastic because in the past,
it seems like it would get just like chewed up in there.
As long as they're good and sharp, and you need to get down low where it's thicker, and it actually cuts better than if you're trying to cut the fluffy part. But it works really well. Electric head shears, gas powered work fine.
What about weed eater?
A weed eater, if you got a good strong weed eater, yes, that will work as well. A weed eater works really well for monkey grass.
Monkey, okay, yeah.
And
that's why I cut mine back with weed eater.
Yes. And monkey grass is another thing you got to watch. If you wait too late, the new growth will start coming up on the monkey grass, and you'll whack the top off of it. And so be careful with it. Early March is a good time to cut it back. And you can, on like monkey grass, I've even seen people use a lawnmower if they got a mass planting of it. One thing with the miscanthus or any of the grasses, but particularly those larger ones like miscanthus or the switchgrass panicum, is when you cut it, it can kind of get out of hand, picking up. So I like to straddle it obviously with pants on because it'll scratch your legs, and kind of back over the clump, and that tightens it up. And then I take a bungee cord and I go around the bottom of it. So I got a bungee cord in my hand. Of course, again, wearing long sleeves and gloves because grasses can really scratch you. And then when I cut it, it keeps that bundle together. And also you can pick it up by that bungee cord. And then I repurpose it in my garden. It makes good mulch. You
like
can
a straw
use it.
or something.
Yeah, you can use like straw in the vegetable garden or any beds. In some areas where I don't want like that look, I lay a layer down, and then when I put my normal mulch out, that's underneath it, and it breaks down and feeds the soil. So use it. And you can compost. If you're going to put it in the compost, you probably want to chop it up a little finer. And of course, you got to mix some green in with it as well. But if you can make use of it in your garden, you should. Don't put it to the curb.
If I'm just starting off with monkey grass, I want some ornamental grass. What kind would you recommend for me? Just a new homeowner? And we talking about what kind would you go out and buy now? Just depend on your location or what?
Yeah, it definitely depends on your location, your soil, how much sun or shade. There are grasses for shade. Monkey grass will grow sun or shade, but the grasses we've been talking about cutting back, the ones that turn more or less brown in the winter, those are all pretty much sun lover plants. Now there's carexes, which are grass-like plants.
I was just thinking of that. We have a display at the Botanic Garden with under a walnut tree, and where you might have trouble getting something to grow. And we have I can't remember the variety, but it's so beautiful because it just looks like little kind of
I would need
lumpy,
that damn right.
It's really pretty.
Little tufts, and then it kind of flows. So there's a huge number of carexes now available in the market, particularly mail order sources. I mean, 20 years ago, you could find 5. Right. Now you can probably find 25 if you really look hard for them. And there are non-natives and natives. So, depending on your situation, there's some really good natives out there. And some of those will grow in full sun and shade, the same plant. Some of them require one or the other. So pay attention to those. Some are also clumpers, some are spreaders. So keep that in mind. If you're wanting a ground cover, obviously you want the spreading kind. So do your homework on that. The university has a new grass publication actually out. You can go to uthort.com, not edu, uthort.com, I believe it is, or maybe .org, and you can find all the publications the university has now. Yeah, we've got one.
And you
that
can just download.
Absolutely.
Download.
Yep.
Okay.
So great publication on grasses. So look for that.
That's good to know.
That'd be good. Then people can see that. They
Yes,
can see what
yes.
grass they want to buy and order and stuff in there. It is a good time to start ordering stuff now. You want to do that? Is it too late now?
No. March is a great time. I would get your orders in pretty quick since some things may sell out. One of the biggest mistakes a new gardener makes is planting things too early, particularly seed, in their house, because they come up and what do? They grow and they lean to the light and they get leggy. So that's one of the main mistakes people make. Be patient.
Don't get spring fever.
You can plant, say, a marigold or a zinnia in the house in, say, 1st April, and you can plant one outside in the ground, a seed in the ground in May, and I guarantee in a month you won't know the difference.
Really?
The one you put outside is going to be happier. I mean, just like for direct sowing, than one you've started in the house that struggled along and reaching for the light, and you probably got fungus gnats and aphids. So be patient. Don't jump the gun on things.
And growing grass, and I'm looking through a catalog, and I see some grass in there. Do all grass grow in the zone, mostly in the zone? And then do I need to be aware of that when I'm ordering? I look in that catalog, I see something.
You definitely need to pay attention to your zones. Most grasses are pretty broad, but for instance, muhly grass is more a zone 6B and south. So if you happen to be in, further north, might not be so happy. Some of the pampas grasses, most of them are zone 8. There's one called pumila that will grow in zone 6. Do pay attention to the zone there. And then some of the grasses don't like our hot summers. I mean, there's cool season like fescue.
Okay, so I was going to ask you about, because I have, in looking at some of these, there were cool season and warm season. I'm not sure I know.
Well, you think about it, we're not cool here really that much. We go from winter to summer pretty quickly. So things like miscanthus, Elijah blue is a blue miscanthus. Fescue, a blue fescue that's been around forever. You won't see that in Memphis, or at least you won't see it last very long.
But the ornamental grasses are pretty much all warm season.
No, it depends.
Yeah.
The blue fescue I'm talking about is an ornamental. Elijah blue, been around probably 30 years.
Okay.
It is sold as an ornamental, but it does not like their heat in the summer. So yeah, do pay attention. You're probably going to be better off in the south for warm season grasses, just like our lawn. A fescue lawn's going to struggle here, so look for those warm seasons for our area.
Okay. We have Kentucky bluegrass in our trace plot out there, Kentucky bluegrass.
Yes.
And during the summertime, we can tell it will be different how it's kind of go back something and stuff in there. So you need to be aware of that when you're doing that.
Oh yeah, take some time to recover once it cools off. Yes, absolutely.
Just do real good.
All right, so walk me through making more grass. I always like to divide things, so I've been trying to, like I said, kind of work on this drainage area and erosion. So you said do it in the spring,
so most
not in
of
the
your
fall.
grasses are best divided in the spring as the new growth is just beginning to come out. And some of them actually really benefit from dividing, and one of those particular is fountain grass. If you let fountain grass go 4 or 5 years, it ends up kind of dying out in the center, and eventually the whole plant will die. So dig it up in the spring. The best thing to do, if you can dig the whole clump up, and you can just take the shovel and chop it up into pieces. Now you can do that when it's dormant or beginning to break dormancy. You do that in the middle of the summer, you would think a grass is a very drought tolerant plant, but they don't like it if you do it in the middle of the summer, and the leaves all kind of curl up and they'll survive, but they're not going to be as happy. Fall is actually the worst time to do grasses, which you would think most perennials don't mind, but grasses don't really like to be divided in the fall, particularly those warm season grasses like the miscanthus. So it's better done in spring. So if you can dig the whole clump up, dig it up, take an axe, take your shovel. It's not easy, and chop it up into pieces and replant.
So is there such thing as getting too small of a piece? Say if I had a 12-inch diameter, would I like 4 pieces out of that?
Yeah, probably so. Quarter it. I would want a piece like 4x4 or 6x6. You just want to be sure it's also got some roots on it as well. And if you've got a clump that's dying out in the center, obviously if you replant that center, it's not going to grow very well. You want the outside ring. If you've got one that's growing out into ring, is going to be the more vigorous part and more likely to survive. So whack it back in March and dig it up March, April, May, and transplant it around in the garden.
Okay.
They also, again, you think very drought tolerant plant. If you dig it up, they don't like to lay around and dry out. I mean, you think, it's a grass, it's tough. Replant that thing pretty quickly.
I might did come when I divided mine up. It just didn't do well no more. Just died out.
Yes.
I don't know what happened.
Sometimes that's the case, but again, it probably either was the wrong time of year or maybe you didn't get enough of the vigorous part. Or later. I mean, sometimes you dig something up and you get busy and you don't get around to it and it dries out.
Too. All those things probably came in the play.
Yes.
And so that's what happened to that stuff in there. Now, is hosta the same thing? Or when do you divide those up?
You can divide hosta in spring or fall. I typically divide mine in the spring just as I'm beginning to see the buds come up. I guess the fall I'm so over it. But you can do it in the spring or fall. But it's the little pips are sticking up out of the ground. And you can either dig the whole clump up and cut it apart or just dig off a chunk. And in the same way with the grasses, you can dig off a chunk, but sometimes that's hard to do. You got to have a really good shovel. A lot of times it's easier to dig the whole thing up, and then you can access the clump better to get a piece off of it.
Okay. I got a soil knife a year or so ago, and I was like, this is so much easier because you can really be precise.
Absolutely.
That's good,
One thing I use at my house and at work is a folding saw that's used to cut branches, but I end up typically after I've used a folding saw for a year or so, the blade's got dull, but also sometimes I break the tip off of it, and so I'll use that older saw to saw through grasses and harder to cut things. But yeah, those knives work really great too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good then. Yeah, I need to give me one over there, Mary Helen, and stuff in there, because something I did wrong. I don't know what happened when I divided my grass and stuff. But we get a lot of we get people like to know about the hosta plant. When I say I cut that back and I do that and stuff, and that's good. Good to know that.
Yeah, great.
My problem is it seems like some of them are really slow to come up, and I forget where they are exactly,
yes,
and I have in mind something to plant there, and then I see the little coming up. I've got to do a better job of recording where my stuff is.
Keep it in record. Now, Jason, anything coming out new this year? Anything? People don't try to do new plants coming out this year or what?
One thing I'm excited about that actually came out last year and we offered at our plant. So there's a new gold leaf form of lamb's ear called key lime.
What?
Key lime.
And it's really cool. It's not it doesn't blind you gold, but it's definitely gold. You put it beside a regular lamb's
And it
ear.
doesn't just look like a lamb's ear that needs some
No,
fertilizing.
no, it doesn't actually. But yeah, key lime, it's really cool. I'm excited
Interesting.
about that. It's a really good new perennial. There's some new hardy agapanthus that are actually developed in Michigan at Walter's Gardens that are hardy to zone 6, but they must have good draining soil.
Okay.
Where
That's
Walter's
tough for
Gardens
us.
are, Walter's Gardens is a big wholesale producer of perennials, and they have acres and acres they grow out in the fields, but it's really sandy there because it's on Lake Michigan. So drainage is really important for that agapanthus.
So people maybe that have like planter beds or raised beds, something in front of
or
their
just
houses
because our
might work.
soil's heavy here compared to that sandy soil up there, and so but that agapanthus, I can't think of the series right now, but you could, if you just Google Walter's Gardens, you could find those on there. You can't order from them because it's a wholesale supply, but you
Right.
can find out the cultivars. And if you're looking for new plants and can't find them, you really should talk to the garden center as soon as you can, so
Okay,
they can
yeah.
source them. So really, fall is the best time to talk to the garden center because they're working on their orders
Right.
for spring. But they can source some of these plants if you kind of ask them to see if they can find them for you. And then of course now we have so many mail order sources as well. But I love to shop local, your local
yeah.
garden
Right.
centers, your nurseries, and you're going to get a lot more information there. The plants are going to be much more affordable. You're going to get a bigger plant. So if you can shop local, do that.
And mostly you shopping local, the plants that you see, they'll grow in this area.
Yes, and a good
yeah.
nursery and garden center are going to stock plants
Plant
that
that-
do well here in
We're
our
here
climate.
in our climate, in our zone,
absolutely.
So that's one thing you can look for when you go to the nursery.
And
place like that.
y'all have some great ones in the Memphis area. I love
Okay,
coming
then.
to the Memphis area to shop for the local nurseries and garden centers. So.
Absolutely.
And the Botanic Garden plant sale and the Dixon plant sale. I mean, the great thing about the Botanic Garden plant sale and the Dixon plant sale, y'all all focus in on trying to get unique things, just like we do in the gardens in Jackson. We're not
Right.
looking for the run-of-the-mill Nandinas, and we're looking for unique things that you may not be able to find easily. And of course, those proceeds go back to support the programs at those gardens. So be sure the Lichterman, be sure and check out those
Yeah.
plant sales, the Master Gardener plant sales.
Yeah, those
So
will all be coming up.
that's
this
right.
spring,
It won't be
so-
long, just right on the corner.
Right.
And Jason, we just want to thank you so much for being here, Jason. The great information there, and good information that you're giving out today. We just appreciate you coming down to the Memphis area here and getting all the great information there.
Well, I've certainly enjoyed it. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you
Thanks
for-
for
thank you.
sharing with the community.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thank you.
See you back. We'll be back in a few minutes. It's What's Going On. Welcome back to What's Going On. Mary Helen, I really enjoyed Jason.
Right. He's so smart. He knows about just about, you can ask him about anything.
Anything he did, just that's off the top of his head, know
Right.
the plant, the zone, the family name, the mother name. He know everything
Right.
about the plant and everything.
Very generous with
Very
his
generous.
information and sharing with the public.
Don't mind sharing and everything.
Yeah.
Then he do that all the time. When you go up there to Jackson, he do the same way.
Yeah.
He be willing to talk to you about all those things that's going on, and he stays so busy all the time because everybody want him to come speak to their organization.
Yeah.
He do a great job. Y'all probably gonna have over there botanical guys.
We're lucky to have him around as a resource.
He's a
that's
good
for
resource
sure.
and everything there.
Yeah.
But the weather, I hope we get back in here now. Hope we see our plant when they come through in the spring and they be
Yes,
okay.
I'm looking forward to it. I hope everybody's gardens fared well and get started off to a good growing season.
I said, yeah, it's great. She said it's a great year. So hope everything go good.
Yep.
Okay, Mary, they see you next month then. Thank you for watching What's Going On.
Thanks.
So everything is Memphis.
You're watching the Library Channel, a broadcast service of the Memphis Public Libraries and the City of Memphis.